So GTA 5 just turned 10 years old. About 5 days ago. So this is going to be a fun video. Now I have quite a few videos planned for 5's 10th anniversary. Obviously the first one I'll be starting off with is every heist in GTA 5. Well, the single player ones. Ranked from worst to best. So let's get into the video and I'll talk about some of the best moments of the game. So starting off at number 10 is of course the Merryweather offshore approach. So yeah, in my original video of this, I grouped all of them together, but I thought it would be smarter to compare the differences for the heists that have an alternative method. So at number 10 is obviously the offshore approach with the Merryweather heist. This one, is obviously the most boring of them, and one of the worst missions in the game. My first issue with this one is that, no one gets paid for this one. Trevor steals a nuke or something, has to give it back, no one gets any money, and you just waste a bunch of time prepping up for the heist without any pay. And compared to the Fader approach, you have to take more stuff, and it just isn't really worth it in the end. So of course at number 9, I of course have the Fader approach. Yeah, I don't like this one either, but I always do the Fader approach as you only need to steal the submarine and not the cargo bomb, so you don't have to storm into a military base and probably get blown up by a tank. But again, this heist isn't anything to gawk at either. Of course, next up, we of course have the FIB fire approach. The FIB heist is probably one of the most interesting parts of GTA 5 story, but I gotta say the rooftop approach is a lot better compared to this one. So for this one, Michael, Franklin, and whomever they pick are, dressing up as firemen and trying to clear out, some files, not fire, some files from the FIB building so they can make the Overlord, being Steve Haynes, happy with what they did. This one's honestly really boring. Story-wise, it's decent, but gameplay-wise, not so much. And of course, next up we have the Jewel Store Smart approach. Yep, so this is the first heist of the game. So Michael needs to pay back Martin Madrazo after tearing down his house. Otherwise, Michael kinda gets made an example of. So they have to rob a jewelry store. This one's not too bad. It's definitely an interesting mission. And it, is when GTA 5 story does start to get really good. But compared to the other heists, it's just, it's okay. Not the best one, but certainly not the worst. Number 6, we of course have Blitz Play. Yeah, this one you don't get paid for, like the Merryweather heist, but at least with Blitz Play, that one's actually fun to play through. Michael, Franklin, and Trevor are, tasked with getting some bonds for Devin Weston. And of course, that goes south, and the three have to fight against a bunch of police officers in the downtown district of Los Santos. Even though the setups aren't as good, at least the heist itself is pretty fun, which I guess makes it slightly count. Maybe. Of course, next up we of course have the Jewel Store Loud approach. Yeah, this one is different from the Smart approach. Instead of throwing a gas grenade into this vent and knocking everyone out, Michael and Franklin and who's ever with them just break into the store and hold everyone hostage while they get the jewels. kind of a fun approach, but ultimately both of them just lead to the same thing, but this one I think gives them a bigger pay cut, well, payout. And of course, next up is the FIB rooftop approach. The FIB rooftop approach pretty much has Michael, Franklin, and who's ever with them skydive onto the FIB building and do the same thing, except without starting a fire in the FIB building. This one feels a lot like a spy movie, and, well, it was pretty fun to play through. It definitely was one of the more enjoyable heists in the game, and it's always fun to play through it again. And of course, at number 3, I of course have the big score subtle approach. So this one kind of feels like something out of Fast and Furious. For this one, well, the trio use 3 cars. Well, they find 3 random cars, but there's 4 they use to kind of race away with the gold from the Union Depository. So they find these 2 armored trucks and some police stingers, and of course take the crews hostage and trick the Union Depository into giving them the gold. Merriweather finds out, and they have a massive shootout with them before getting into this massive police chase in a city and then getting away. It definitely feels a lot like a Fast and Furious movie, which makes playing through this mission pretty fun. But obviously, I kind of like the obvious approach a lot better. Of course, at number 2, I of course have the Polito score. The Polito score was the 4th heist in the game, and one that Michael, Trevor, and Franklin embark on with a gunman of their choice. So for this one, the trio are tasked with getting some money for a raid on the Humane Labs run by the IAA for the FIB's funding war between them. Of course, story aside, this is a pretty fun mission to play through. And this definitely has one of the coolest Trevor moments in it, as in this one, Trevor gets to wield a massive minigun, and gets to use it throughout the mission, making a pretty enjoyable game, a pretty enjoyable mission to play through. And definitely one of my favorites in the game. And of course, at number 1 is the big score, obvious approach. The big score, obvious approach, again, has the trio and whomever they choose just break into the bank while another group causes a distraction. So, for this one, Michael and a gunman are causing the distraction while Franklin and someone else are drilling into the bank to take the gold, while Trevor and Lester are piloting, a helicopter along with someone else. Merriweather gets involved in this one, and it leads to kind of a tedious moment in this one, but a pretty fun one. Well, Michael and Franklin get to have a shootout with the cops in the streets of Los Santos. Of course, either way, all 3 of them, everyone involved in this one, gets a massive payout, and I'll embark on something that would probably be talked about if a new GT ever comes out. So of course, these are my favorite heists in the game, from worst to best. I of course do have more videos planned out in the upcoming days. But of course, I also want to give a quick thanks to everyone for all the support they've shown on the channel for the last few years. This was one of my very first videos that I did on the channel, and so it's fun to have gotten to remake this one. I do plan to do more GTA content in the future. Obviously, I'll be covering GTA 4 and 5, and hopefully 6 when it ever comes out. But that's all I have to say for this one. So, of course, then, goodbye, and thanks for watching, and stay safe, everyone.